Welcome back to In the Zone, the Washington, D.C. sports show is bringing you all the latest in local sports news. Just partying out here at the Redskins Ride event out here in Ashburn, Virginia, in Redskins Park. James Flamez, Karen Breit out here. Man, everybody's having a lot of fun today, Karen.
It's great out here.
It's hot out here. You know, we're kind of melting a little bit, but
I'll take hot over cold, though.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, Scully and everything. But we do it for the people, Karen. We do it for the people. Do it for the fans. So let's talk a little bit more about the NFL. Now, specifically, let's talk a little bit about the Redskin rivals here. The Cowboys and the Eagles. Which team do you think is in the most pain, Karen? The Cowboys and Eagles. They're both not looking too good.
I think they're both in a lot of pain. I think the Eagles, they need to find themselves. They're 1-3, so if they don't really pick it up, they're going to be in big trouble later on in the season because that's where their hardest games are. I think the Cowboys aren't in as much trouble just because their issue is Tony Romo. They just got to get the consistency there, and the rest is pretty much put together. So I'll have to say Eagles are hurting a little more. Yeah,
I would say so too. At least the Cowboys didn't have the whole dream team explanation going on.
Yes.
You know, the Cowboys were hyped up last year, but this year they kind of came in, and I did pick them to actually go to the playoffs. I actually picked them. I think that was kind of a, how do you say, I was kind of hoping for the Redskins, you know, that was kind of a reverse psychology thing. But the Eagles, I agree, are definitely in the more pain. Definitely. I mean, nobody could predict that they'd come out the gate 1-3. And they don't look, I mean, their defense looks bad. Vic's been, you know, on and off this year, but then again, he's been getting hit. The offense looks good, defense looks terrible, and I love the fact, sorry Philly, I love the fact that the Philly fans are in a little bit of pain. I love that.
It's definitely surprising. I don't think anyone expected it, but I think it's kind of the curse of the hype, you know? They were hyped so much, and I mean, who wouldn't hype Michael Vick in the offseason, but it kind of came back to bite him a little bit right now, it looks like.
Yeah, and not to take a shot at my own team, but we have been a little bit, you know, victims in the past of getting a lot of free agents, putting them on the team, you know, like you stated earlier, and it's not working out. And it seems like the Eagles, although they had a core team already, just, you know, have been put, you know, free agents there, high-priced guys, and it hasn't worked out. Which goes back to the issue we were talking about earlier of chemistry, you know, on a football team is so important. And I don't know, at this point, they're at a point in the season where if one person says the wrong thing, maybe Vic or any of the leaders say the wrong thing, it could split that team right in the opposite direction.
There's no price tag on chemistry. Do not buy that.
I like that. Yes. I'm going to be using that probably for a long time, probably the rest of my life. That's good. There's no price tag on chemistry.
Yes.
I like that, Karen. I like that. So the Cowboys, I think, are in trouble, like you said, with Romo, but they're not as, I don't think, as much trouble as the Eagles. I mean, they're both a little head cases, but they're not in as much trouble. Well, let's move on. Now that we got rid of those, you know, losers, let's move on to some winners. All right, Buffalo and Detroit started out hot. Which team are you most surprised by? Or are they both equally surprising?
Definitely the Lions. Look at them before this season, and their defense is stout. They have Matt Stafford, an up-and-coming elite quarterback. They definitely surprised me. When I heard people talking Lions in preseason, I mean, I was laughing on the inside a little bit, but they're proving themselves and they're doing great.
Right. Unfortunately, I have to give my other co-host Jason a little props. He actually said the surprise team was going to be the Lions, and I gave him a lot of flack for it because I've had bad experiences in Detroit, and Detroit is still Detroit. And I'm not going to say he's a genius yet, okay? Every now and then people get stuff right, but he did say Detroit was going to be a come-up team. And I will say I'm more surprised that Buffalo is doing well than Detroit, because Buffalo's in a tough division with New England, the Jets, and those are kind of the two teams that are supposed to be, you know, coming up and or supposed to be maintaining where they are, and Buffalo is just an afterthought in that division, and they're showing that, hey, you know, they need to be reckoned with. They just need to be reckoned with. So I would say Buffalo for me, and for you it's Detroit. But
definitely Detroit, and I also think it's the right time, just like the Saints won in New Orleans when the city really needed to be picked up. I think Detroit needs to be picked up, and it might be the right time for this team to really do something for the city.
Yeah, and you gotta love what they did to the Dallas Cowboys.
Who wouldn't?
You gotta love that.
Who wouldn't love that?
Exactly, you gotta love that. So, back to the Skins. I'm kind of reluctant to say this, but I think I'm gonna have to go there a little bit. Is it too early to talk playoffs?
I think with the Redskins, it's always too early to talk about the playoffs until they're playing their first game. I think just like the curse of the hype, I just think that this team especially has just been so cursed and like buying into the hype that it's very cliche, but need to take each game one at a time, work on winning by bigger margins, and hopefully it takes us to the playoffs. But just like the Eagles, a lot of our tough games we still have in our schedule, so the only really legitimate one we have over the Giants, and they were, injured. So we still have a lot of proving to do before we talk playoffs, I think. Yeah,
you're right. A couple years ago, we had the whole Jim Zorn thing, and I believe they were 6-2. I believe it was something like that, 6-2. And it looked like Campbell was doing his thing, Portis was running the ball, and it looked like, I remember even on one ESPN, Ron Jaworski was like, I think Jason Campbell might be the surprise MVP of the season. And I was like, whoa, but as we know, they flaked out at the end of the season. Little turmoil within also happened, and they ended up not making the playoffs. So I do think it is a little early. But being fans, it's fun to talk about it.
No, being fans, it's fun to talk about, but I'm always worried about the jinx and the curse. So I don't even know that word until I see it happening on TV.
Yeah, there's always a curse. Now, momentum is one of these things that it can go either way. You can have momentum with a losing streak, momentum with a winning streak. It's just one of those funny things. Sometimes you just catch it. Do you think over the next, let's say, 4 or 5 games the Redskins have coming up, which will take us into about the mid part of the season where we'd be 8 games in, what is your prediction? Do you think the Redskins can maintain the momentum that they have, or do you think, it's hard to predict it because something may happen that may send them the opposite way, like an injury, but if all things stay the same, do you think they can maintain this momentum?
I think it's kind of an up-in-the-air question, and I think that it really comes down to the O-line. If we can get consistency on the O-line, that will give Rex a little more comfort back there and maybe make him feel a little more comfortable. So I think it really comes down to what the O-line does in the next 4 to 5 games. And I really think that this is a defining part of the season, because we usually come out of the gates pretty well in the beginning of the season, but then we fall apart. So we're started 3-1, we're doing great, but we just have to maintain the margin of victory, up the points a little bit, and I think it's possible, but I do think it's totally up in the air right now.
Yeah. I don't think I could have said it any better. I like agree. You know what? I like you on this side. I like you on this side. Jason sometimes goes back and forth. I like you. You did. That's I can say it any better.
Thanks.
The points, the momentum. Yeah, that's pretty much where I was going with it. It's nice to be able to agree with somebody. It's nice to agree. Well, it's time for another break, and when we come back, we'll check out some rides, see what everybody's doing out here. I can hear the music. I've been jamming, but I've been kind of waiting to go down there and see what's shaking. So when we come back, we'll check out some of the rides. Keep it locked right here. You're watching In the Zone. Redskins Ride.